Hello, and welcome to Insights in Action with Orange 142, where we interview agency leaders and business owners to uncover the journeys, the strategies, and the insights that drive their success. At Orange 142, we're all about transforming brand stories into impactful digital experiences through innovative media and marketing solutions. And today I'm very lucky to be joined by Natalie of Creative Marketing Group. How's it going, Natalie?
Yep. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm glad we were able to make this happen. Thank you so much for being here. And Natalie, I'd love to start off just by learning a little bit more about your background and a little bit more about Creative Marketing Group.
Yeah. So I founded Creative Marketing Group 9 years ago. I worked in corporate doing marketing. I had a marketing degree, undergrad degree, worked in corporate for a number of years, and then went to work for a couple small agencies as a freelance contractor until I decided to start my own firm about 9 years ago.
Wow, that's awesome. And so I know that you founded Creative Marketing Group to address like a lack of affordable quality marketing support for small businesses. Can you share some of the specific challenges you observed that led to this realization? And how does your agency address those gaps?
Yeah. So working in corporate as a marketing career is obviously much different than being in the small business world. It's very interesting because I actually did most of my marketing career in a law firm setting, and I was there for 6 years. And so as a marketing professional, I think this is really important. When you work in legal marketing, the sort of corporate marketing industry
Mhm.
doesn't really think you know much about marketing if all you've done is legal marketing. So it's a very different industry and
Interesting.
vice versa. And so when I left legal marketing, I really wanted to get more experience in corporate marketing,
Mhm.
take small business marketing, and that's a whole nother bucket. And why? Because really have to understand the challenges that entrepreneurs and small businesses go through to from a number of different standpoints. There's not much budget. A lot of the results are driven to make revenue and to make the business survive. And
Mhm.
then you get the inability to be as creative, and you have to use more of your brain to think, how do I make this business successful or make them enough money that they'll survive another year to grow and become 5 years old. And so to more directly answer your question, when I left legal marketing, I went to work for a couple small agencies that specifically offered marketing professional services to small businesses.
Mhm.
And I was a freelance contractor for those agencies. And what I found is that the price tag for their services for these small businesses was pretty much their to make a logo, for instance, and
Mhm.
what they charge a small business for that logo was pretty much their entire marketing budget for the entire year. And I just thought that was really unfair. And so then they had zero to little support in the rest of the marketing, that they needed help getting social media posts out, and they needed consulting, and they needed, how do I build my website as I grow, and all of these things. So when I founded my own firm, I said to myself, I have to find a way, and I know it'll be challenging, but I have to find a way to provide services at a price point that I can survive as a small business owner, but that small business owners can afford, and that they can get sustained support and services through marketing throughout the year and not just drop it all for one single service, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah. And it sounds like you found that balance. It sounds like the
In the
some.
first couple of years, many people told me, you're absolutely crazy. You are going to be broke and you're going to fail and it's not going to work. And I said, anything is possible if you put thought into it and you run your finances and you run the numbers. But the biggest key to that is you also have to have boundaries and what services you can offer for that price point. And that's ultimately what I would tell people that said, you're going to fail, but there are boundaries. There's limitations on what I can do for a lower price point.
Yeah.
So it's all relative.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I know that that's so appreciated. I'm the son of a small business owners, having grown up in that. And my parents owned a restaurant growing up and very razor thin margins. But if there's if every agency is charging these enormous prices, like where does it leave the little guy, right? And I think what you're doing is so important. And not only that, there's something unique in that you're balancing entrepreneurship and motherhood, which is like no small feat, right? How have your experiences as a mother of two influenced your approach to leading Creative Marketing Group, and what strategies do you like employ to manage both of those roles effectively?
Um, I don't know if you're a parent or not, but for parents that hear this, they'll all resonate with this. And I do hire a lot, always have hired a lot of parents as employees of Creative Marketing Group. 9 years ago, my children were very little. They were just going into elementary school. And quite honestly, part of being an entrepreneur is that I wanted freedom as a mother.
Mhm.
And I really was, this is what will resonate to most people. I was really not interested in having a boss tell me I couldn't leave 15 minutes early so I could go to my son's baseball game, or that I needed to work from home. Again, this is before COVID. Work from home thing wasn't as popular. It was not common.
Mhm.
I was just not interested in somebody telling me what I could and couldn't do to be the best mom possible. And there were many days, many years that I scratched my head and thought, this is really tough. Being a small business owner and an entrepreneur, as well as a mother raising two kids, is really tough. Would I trade it in for having a boss tell me what I can and can't do to raise my children and have no regrets? No, I would do it all.
Yeah.
And so I've had a lot of employees over the years that resonate with that, and they want to come work for me because they know they can have that freedom and that independence.
Mhm.
Uh, but is it ultimately every entrepreneur and small business owner out there goes through that challenge? It's all a balance of balancing their life or their marriages or their children, or taking care of a sick family member, or and balancing their business, and how do you make money, and it's all a lot of balls in the air and a lot of juggling and a lot of balance.
Yeah, definitely. And that's really cool that you recognize that you've got the empathy as a parent yourself and for people on your staff to understand that they've got other responsibilities. That was like not a thing 20, 30 years ago. Like you were just expected to like, I'm not, I wasn't in the job force 20 or 30 years ago, but just saying, I know like just seeing my parents go through it as well before they have the business, you're expected to work, and that's what you do. And now there's a lot more. I think a lot more companies are starting to come around to it. Maybe it was COVID, maybe it was the work from home push that like, hey, if you give people freedom, they will get what they need to get done. And so I think hopefully it's moving in the right direction now.
Yeah, and I used to tell people when I hired more frequently before COVID, people would say, wow, that's really great of you that you can allow us to work from home and be independent. And I said, quite frankly, if I have to monitor everything that you do all the time, every day in an office environment, you're really just not the right employee. I
Yeah.
really have time to make sure that you get your job done.
Yeah, exactly. I was just watching this video the other day. It was, I don't know who it was, but he was saying once you start having to make stupid rules up as a business owner, that's how you know that you're hiring like bad. You know what I mean? Hey, don't tell you, I shouldn't have to tell people that you can't watch Netflix at work, that type of stuff. So Creative Marketing Group has been featured in several Richmond area publications and podcasts. How has engaging with the local community influence your agency's growth and client relationships?
Gosh, it was everything.
Yeah.
We had 15 employees, full-time employees before COVID hit.
Wow.
And a big part of our marketing strategy was around business development. So
Mhm.
it's two things, which all related to people. It was, we didn't spend every day with our clients, but we spent once or twice we would spend with our clients in person. That in-person collaboration is just so important.
Yeah.
And secondly, you take 15 people and you put them in every networking event and everything going on in town. We were at everything
Wow.
and always seen everywhere.
Yeah.
And we would take a picture at this party we would go to, and this happy hour, and this networking event, and this breakfast. And when COVID hit, We all scratched our heads and looked at each other and we were like, what are we going to do now?
Yeah.
And it's actually a very interesting story about what we did to pivot our marketing strategy. There were a couple local restaurants in my neighborhood that after COVID, they really made little to zero effort in opening their doors, and they laid off all of their staff almost immediately with COVID. And it really frustrated me because I had 15 salaried employees. I was doing everything known to man to try to survive and keep their income coming in and salvage everything. And so I decided pretty immediately, I think we had a couple interns and 15 employees, and I said, okay, I'm going to create this form and I want everybody to reach out to a business owner that is going above and beyond to keep their doors open and to keep their employees on payroll, and so that they have the financial means to survive. And we'd give this form out to small business owners. They would fill it out, and then we would take all of their answers and turn it around into a blog entry. And then we would push it out on social media to tell these stories, because nobody really knew the story. They didn't know the story behind the wine shop down the street of how much he was struggling because people weren't coming in to buy wine. Maybe they were starting to order it online or whatever. And we wrote a story every single day for 3 months.
Wow.
I don't remember why we stopped after 3 months. I think it was less frequent, but it was every single day. And it was so heartfelt and it was so authentic, and people really learned about other people in their community. It was really special. And I got to meet and become friends with a really good variety of people because of that effort.
That's awesome. Wow. That's a really smart idea too.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Wow. Looking ahead, what are your aspirations for Creative Marketing Group, and how do you guys plan to continue evolving to meet the needs of small businesses and startups and whatnot?
Yeah. It's interesting because if it's not COVID changing, it's something else changing. Many of us in marketing are probably feeling the effects of AI. So it's interesting. We got a call for a logo design 5-6 years ago. There wasn't a mention of AI. Now there's, hey, I've been building a whole bunch of logos with AI and I pretty much know what I want. I just need somebody to put it together and package it and make it look pretty. And I think we all have to be ready for things to change drastically with what we're offering and at what price point. I think, to answer your question directly, I think it has a lot to do with what really makes you happy. What do you like? What kind of services do you really enjoy offering, especially at a price point that can make ends meet and that you can make a living? Because can we make a living on just crafting some AI logo for somebody, or is there a way that we can add more value? So I think that's really important. So for us specifically, we got into providing management and marketing services for associations. We are administrators and do the marketing for a couple of nonprofits here in Richmond, and our team absolutely loves that work. And AI isn't taking any of that work away soon.
Yeah.
We're excited about that, and we just put a new webpage on our website about it so that we can support others.
That's awesome. And that's really cool. It's interesting. I think you outlined AI's role perfectly in the example that you gave, that there's people can build logos with AI, but they still need the expertise of somebody to say, hey, this looks good or this. So I think it's changing in that regard. And it's cool that you guys are already starting to see that. Natalie, this has been amazing. Where can people learn more about you, and where can people learn more about your agency?
Yeah, so our website is CreativeMtkGroup.com. And we're on Instagram and LinkedIn, and I always love to collaborate with people on LinkedIn as well. So yeah.
Awesome.
No, thank you so much for having me. This was a lot of fun. And at any time you can get somebody else to talk about things, it's always super helpful. So thank you for talking through all of this with me.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for being on. Great episode.
Yeah. All right. Have a great day.
You too.